recognise that while Europe moved in the direction of inclusivity, Ireland did not, and that is just the real fact on the ground. There's not a bathroom from the Garden of Remembrance to here, and O'Connell Street is potentially the most important street in our country. There's not a bathroom for me to use. It's a disgrace. I think I think ultimately, the real question is the ask is a very small €400 so that people can have the mental health capacity to think about what they want to do, more so than worrying about opening the door and letting heat out of their house. That's the real reality on the ground, and I think the Minister needs to sit down and talk with organisations and people with disabilities, because I'm here to talk. I want answers, I want solutions. But, to get the engagement from government just is not happening. I don't want to go on too much, but we all know why we're here. It's about convincing and showing our representation of our lived experience as a marginalised group in our society that, we are well able to participate in our society. We just need the recognition from government for equality. And that starts with a €400 payment so nobody freezes or starves this winter. And I'd asked the Minister to do the right thing. They took a U-turn on the SNA situation, which they should have. Now it's time to recognise people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jack. And I think you really brought across that whole piece of what the government actually thinks of people with disabilities. We've been used as election pawns, very much so, in the last election. And I think it's time now that we actually change that direction and make the government really understand that in future we will not be used. They cannot continually talk about disability when they're knocking on doors and go in and have a programme for government that says they're going to do all sorts of things for people with disabilities and then take away what bit of money that we have. So thanks so much. Our next speakers are Sophia and Bernard Mulvaney, who will remind us that behind every policy decision our families trying to make ends meet with dignity.
Hello everyone. I'm here today because I am a young woman living with a disability in Ireland, and I think it is utterly disgraceful that I have to live with the fear of poverty as I get older and as I start thinking about what my life could like when I want to live away from home. As it stands, I do not believe that I will be able to move out when I'm 18. Now, this isn't a disability-specific issue per se. As we all know, Ireland is in a cost of living crisis for all people. But statistically, people with disabilities are far more likely to be in poverty than those without disabilities. I have seen firsthand from some of the disabled adults in my life just how much of a struggle it can be to survive, let alone thrive as an adult with a disability in Ireland. This is unacceptable. Why should I and other people in the disabled community be made feel like our right to live is unimportant? Why is it that we constantly need to come out onto the street and fight for what are, in my opinion, the most basic human rights? The main issue we are addressing today is the emergency payment that we as disabled people and our carers need to survive. The government have taken away all the supports that were previously in place for carers and disabled people, so this payment is not just merely a want, it is vital and it is a necessity. Government have claimed that they didn't really know that disabled people are facing such horrific poverty. I find this very hard to believe that the Taoiseach and Taoiseach could be unaware of our struggles when we've been fighting for so long. I think it is shameful that our government does not treat disability as the important issue it so clearly is. I think it is shameful that our government is okay with dehumanising people by making them feel as though their right to exist can be dictated by a cost. And I think it is shameful that our government are still to this day not listening to the disabled community when we tell them what we need them to do. person living in Ireland, I want to see change, and I want to be able to have hope for my future. I want to be able to have the same opportunities as my non-disabled peers without being afraid that financial issues will hold me back. I do not want to have to keep living in an Ireland where my rights are not taken seriously, and I do not want to live in an Ireland where those that are supposed to provide funding and support to people in my community fail to provide those supports. If I had one message for those in government, it would be to have some empathy. You'd care if it was your own family members not being able to live independently. You'd care if it was your own friends who were unable to exist freely in the same way you do. And you would most certainly care if it was your child being forced to live with the fear of poverty hanging over their head. Thank you all very much for listening.
I don't know how I can follow up on that. It's going to be very difficult. But once again, we're here fighting for just, equality, what's right. All through the general election, Micheál Martin and Simon Harris used disability as a platform to better themselves while making promises that they've completely turned their backs on. They talk about a consultation process, but no one's made reference to the fact that consultation process was done. The data is there. They know how much it costs to live in Ireland with a disability. They know that we're second from the bottom in the European table for poverty and people with disabilities. But yet, they want to have a consultation to find out, are we living in poverty? When it's all there. It's been there since 2021. And it goes to show how serious they are about tackling this most pressing of issues, the most shameful of issues in a society as wealthy as this country. And it is unbelievably wealthy. They stand on pedestals and tell us how lucky we are to live in the second wealthiest country on earth. And yet we look around and we see family and friends having to visit food banks twice a week because they can't afford to heat and eat. It is utterly shameful in a society to have people going out visiting food banks just to be able to put food in their bellies. It's shameful. And it's shameful we have to come out time and again to articulate and to fight for the basic right of equality in Irish society. It's shameful that pensioners, the elderly, are terrified to put on the heating. It's shameful that students can't afford to feed themselves in modern Ireland. It's shameful that Jack has to buy a duvet to keep himself warm at home because he can't put on the heating. I think enough is enough. We have to contact them. We have to tell them we're not putting up with it anymore. We saw how quick they can back down when the SNAs were attacked and the community came together. Everybody came together, and rightly so. For too long our SNAs have been treated with contempt from government. These are the people who support people like Sophia in her education, who empower parents like us to know they're being looked after, and they treat them like dirt. That's a reflection of how they reflect on us. Enough is enough. We have to say no more, and we have to say, when they're knocking on that door looking for your vote, we have to say, what did you do? How did you support the SNAs? How did you support the pensioners? How did you support Sophia? How did you support Jack? Joan? We know you didn't. You're not getting a welcome here. You're not getting our vote. We have the power. We have to use it. And we need to use it. Thank you.